saying that you were the trigger man. Is that accurate?
Next question.
Can't talk about that.
Can't talk about that.
Why did he end up getting shot anyway? Like, why? Especially
I don't feel like the drugs was part of the situation. I just feel like, I don't know, we was just kids. Being kids from the hood. Too much movement. That's all, too much movement.
Pop Smoke. That name still rings heavy in the streets, still echoes through New York, and still brings pain every time it's mentioned. Because even years later, people haven't forgotten what was taken from the culture.
Smoke was known by some of the biggest names in the business, like Nicki Minaj and 50 Cent. His murder has stunned fans everywhere.
Everybody's talking about it. Police say suspects broke into his home and shot him.
And now, the same person responsible for ending Pop Smoke's life is reportedly back in the middle of street chaos after being caught lacking by New York goons who apparently weren't feeling his internet behavior at all. See, this wasn't just any situation. This was the same individual who avoided a life sentence simply because he was too young at the time of the crime, 15 years old. That one detail changed everything. Instead of spending his life behind bars, he was sent to juvenile detention with a release date already written for him. And once he touched back down outside, he started moving like the streets had forgotten, like the name Pop Smoke didn't still mean something, like karma didn't have an address. For months, he was online, trolling, laughing, making slick comments, allegedly mocking Pop Smoke's death, even going on podcasts speaking openly about the case like it was some story he survived instead of a life he helped take. The confidence was loud, too loud, and when the streets hear disrespect long enough, eventually the streets respond. According to multiple street sources, once word spread about how reckless he was moving, things shifted fast, real fast, because New York doesn't forget, especially not when one of their own was taken in his prime. But before we get into what reportedly happened next, let's rewind, because you can't understand this moment without understanding who Pop Smoke really was. February 19th, 2020. That was the day the music world stopped breathing for a second. Pop Smoke, born Bashar Jackson, was just 20 years old when his life was taken during a home invasion in the Hollywood Hills. 20. Still a kid himself, still learning, still rising, and already standing shoulder to shoulder with legends. Pop wasn't just another rapper bubbling up, he was different. He had that voice, deep, gritty, commanding, the type of voice that made you stop scrolling, the type that felt like New York every time it came through the speaker. When Pop Smoke spoke, it sounded like the streets talking back. Songs like Welcome to the Party, Dior, and For the Night weren't just hits, they were movements. Clubs played them, cars blasted them, cities across the country felt Brooklyn energy whether they wanted to or not. He revived a whole sound. Brooklyn drill wasn't local anymore. Pop Smoke took it global. And the industry saw it early. 50 Cent took him under his wing. Nicki Minaj showed love. Big artists were lining up to work with him because everyone knew the same thing. Pop Smoke was next. Not maybe, not potentially. He was already there. Then, just like that, it was gone. Police said multiple suspects broke into his rental home and shot him. 5 people were eventually arrested, most of them teenagers, kids who thought they were going on a simple lick, a quick robbery, easy money. But one of them, the one many believe was the trigger man, was only 15 years old. That age changed everything. When he admitted involvement in juvenile court, the system couldn't give him life, couldn't sentence him like an adult. Instead, he was sent to a juvenile facility until age 25. That was it. No matter the loss, no matter the impact, no matter that a rising superstar was dead. To many fans, that never felt like justice. Fast forward to his release, and this is where the story takes a turn nobody expected. Instead of laying low, instead of disappearing, instead of staying quiet,
he reportedly came home moving reckless, posting online, subtle trolling, then not so subtle. Laughing at comments, engaging with people who mentioned Pop Smoke, even speaking openly on podcasts about the case like he was untouchable. That's when people started saying, he's moving way too comfortable. Because see, the internet might forgive, but the streets don't operate like that. And New York especially doesn't play when it comes to fallen soldiers. According to Street Talk, once New York goons caught wind of how he was carrying himself, the energy changed. People weren't amused, they weren't entertained, they were angry. Sources claim he was eventually caught lacking, and while details remain limited, the message was loud. The streets had not forgotten what happened in 2020. And just when people thought the situation couldn't get any darker, it did. Because shortly after that, news began circulating about the brother of the other shooter, allegedly found on a beach inside a barrel. Let that sink in. Found on a beach inside a barrel. That detail alone sent chills through social media. No official statements tying everything together, but the timing had people talking non-stop. The streets were buzzing, blogs were whispering, fans were connecting dots whether authorities would or not. And that's what makes this whole situation feel unreal. Years later, different cities, different lives, but the shadow of Pop Smoke's death still moving through the streets like unfinished business. And that's the part that hits hardest, because Pop Smoke was supposed to be here right now, dropping albums, selling out tours, growing into the superstar everyone saw coming. Instead, his name lives through music and through pain. Every time Dior plays, people still throw their hands up. Every time his voice comes on, it reminds folks what was stolen. And maybe that's why emotions stay so high around this case, because this wasn't just a rapper dying. This was potential erased, a future cut short. And when someone responsible moves like it meant nothing, the streets take that personal. This whole situation is still unfolding. Nothing official has been confirmed, but one thing is clear. Pop Smoke's name still carries weight. His legacy still demands respect, and no amount of time, jail, or silence can erase that. Because some names don't die, and Pop Smoke is one of them. Millions of fans who still bump Pop's music every single day. And that's the part this dude clearly didn't understand. You can't kill somebody loved by an entire city and then expect time to erase that. You can't take a legend from Brooklyn and think people just gonna move on because the court system let you off light. So boom, Shorty gets out, and instead of moving in silence, instead of laying low, instead of showing even an ounce of remorse, he does the complete opposite. He starts going on podcasts, sitting down for full interviews, cameras rolling, mic in his face, and he's talking about the night Pop Smoke lost his life like it's just another story. I'm talking about long-form interviews where he's basically reliving the moment. And the way he's speaking, man, it's cold. No emotion, no regret, no pain in his voice. Just flat, casual energy. Like he's discussing a regular day, not a life-ending moment. In one interview, the host asks him about that night, tries to figure out whether it was a setup or a robbery gone wrong, and listen to how he responds. He says it was a robbery. Nobody sent us there, nobody set nothing up. All that information online is fake. He says YouTube pages don't know nothing, that people just assuming and putting stuff together as they go.
And maybe even just like take us through the day if you want.
Well, I'm not finna get into detail about too much, but it was a robbery. Nobody did none of that. That's all false information. There's a lot of pages that's like giving out false information. YouTube's like the vlog, false. Like they don't know none. Y'all don't know nothing y'all talking about. Y'all just assuming and y'all just putting shit together as y'all going around.
And the crazy part is how calm he sounds saying it. No shaking voice, no pause, no hesitation. Just straight talking, like he rehearsed it. The interviewer tries again and asks him to walk through the day. And once again, he says he won't go into detail, but repeats that it was just a robbery and nobody put them up to it. Fam, this man is talking about the murder of Pop Smoke like he's correcting rumors about a celebrity breakup. No sorrow, no weight, no acknowledgement of what was lost. He's sitting there trying to clean up the narrative like he's a spokesperson, not the person responsible. And it gets worse, because then the conversation turns to YouTube videos, blogs, coverage of the case, and this is where people really started losing it. He says that the way people talk about Pop Smoke's death is disrespectful. He says when they say rest in peace, it feels wrong to him. He literally says if that was his boy and someone posted about it, he'd feel like they were his ob. Let that sink in. The man who took Pop Smoke's life is calling other people disrespectful for mourning him. That's the level of audacity we're talking about. The interviewer even stops him and asks what part is disrespectful, and he can't really explain it. He just keeps saying it feels wrong, that people shouldn't be speaking on it. But how are you going to police grief when you caused it?
Up the situation, and they could be saying like rest in peace, so they be disrespectful themselves. They be like I don't know. I just feel like if that was my boy and they're posting them and speaking on a situation like that, like I feel like you my op too.
What's the disrespectful part?
How are you going to tell the world how to talk about Pop Smoke when you're the reason they're saying his name in past tense? That lack of self-awareness is crazy, bro. Absolutely crazy. Then they bring up the address situation, because for years, people have debated how Pop Smoke's location got exposed. There was talk about a gift bag photo, about an address visible in the background, about someone from his circle posting online. And when asked about it, suddenly he doesn't know nothing. He says he can't speak on how the address was found, says he doesn't know, says he's not gonna lie to nobody. claims people just putting pieces together after the fact.
Saying that there was, a bag with an address that was posted online. There was a photo of him and his friend where you can see the address in the background. Is a lot of that not true? It's just people putting shit together after the fact?
Oh, that part I can't speak about because I don't know how the address got. I don't know that part. So I can't even speak on that. I'm not finna share a lie to nobody.
Fact. Funny how he had a lot to say about everything else, but that part, silence. And then he drops one of the wildest statements of the entire interview. He says he didn't even know who Pop Smoke was. Says he probably saw one picture of him before and thought he was a model. A model. Let that sit for a second.
I thought he was a model. I was like, you got a good modeling career going on. I mean, I thought he was just on that route, but then all this happened. I'm like...
5 people were originally arrested in connection to Pop Smoke's murder. One of them was Jaquan Murphy. He didn't end up being charged in Pop's case, but he's currently locked up for an unrelated murder. And Jaquan had a brother, Javant Murphy. On July 31st, Javant's body was found inside a 55-gallon barrel floating near the Pacific Coast Highway Bridge in Malibu. A barrel in the ocean. A maintenance worker first spotted it but couldn't move it. The next morning, a lifeguard swam out and retrieved it. When authorities opened it, Javant's body was inside, naked, stuffed like he was disposable. The coroner ruled it a homicide immediately. And what made it even chilling? Javant was an aspiring rapper himself. A young man with dreams, music goals, trying to make something out of life. And he ended up dead in the most brutal way imaginable. According to TMZ and the LA County Sheriff's Department, investigators began exploring whether his murder could have been revenge connected to Pop Smoke's murder. Let that sink in. Not confirmed, but being investigated. Which shows you how deep this situation runs. Because when justice feels incomplete, anger festers. And when anger festers long enough, people start taking matters into their own hands. Especially when the actual shooter is online doing podcast tours and acting untouchable. The streets have a code. It's not written anywhere, but everyone knows it. You don't brag about bodies. You don't explain murders for clicks. You don't profit off pain. And this kid broke every rule. The legal system may have failed Pop Smoke. That's just reality. The man responsible gets to walk free at 25. He gets to live a life, build a future, have things Pop will never experience. And that's why this story still burns. Because Pop Smoke should be here, dropping albums, selling out tours, growing into the superstar everyone knew he'd be. Instead, all we have is music and unanswered pain. So to anyone watching this thinking reckless decisions don't follow you, let this be the lesson. The internet doesn't forget. The streets don't forget. And karma doesn't need a courtroom. Rest in peace to Pop Smoke, a real Brooklyn legend gone too soon. Rest in peace to Javant Murphy, another life lost in a cycle that keeps claiming the wrong people. And to everyone involved, I hope something was learned, because the culture is watching, the streets are listening, and justice comes in many forms. That's it for this one, fam. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Was this street justice or just more violence feeding the cycle? Should the legal system handle juvenile cases like this differently? Drop your thoughts below. And as always, stay safe. These streets don't play, and they definitely don't forget.